If you're able to call roll, please.
Mr. Cohen.
Here.
Mr. Corey.
Here.
Mr. Hayward.
Here.
Ms. Parlamas.
Here.
Dr. Pucci Bender. Ms. Stevenson.
Here.
Mr. Tang.
Here.
Ms. Calvez. Dr. Robinson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Mr. Cohen, are you able to lead us through the flag salute, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of meeting in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, as amended by PL 2025, Chapter 72. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided on March 3rd, 2026 by posting notice on the Glen Rock Public Schools website where legal notices and advertisements are listed. And there's the web address. Are you able to lead us through the mission statement, please?
Sure. The Glen Rock School District, founded on principles of education in partnership with a supportive community, provides an exceptional education to all students to cultivate resilient, responsible, and engaged global citizens.
Excellent, thank you. All right. Hudson, looking forward to hearing from you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying the fun events associated with this time of year. I want to start off by giving a shout out to the boys tennis team who won the state tournament, and they're here tonight. And you'll hear more about them in a little bit. So, in other news, Rockfest took place on May 19th, and it was a resounding success. Despite the extremely hot temperatures and the sunshine, high school students had a great time outside that afternoon, complete with food and dessert trucks, tournament-style games of spikeball and pickleball, and promotions raising awareness for mental health, as well as music performances by Glen Rock students. Additionally, the senior award ceremony happened on June 3rd, where seniors were recognized for their achievements ranging from academics to athletics to art with awards and scholarships. Some of the many scholarships awarded can be found on agenda item B4. Senior Service Day on June 11th allowed seniors to give back to the Glen Rock community by leading activities for middle school students on Get Out and Play Day. Senior seminars have gone on for the last 2 weeks, and seniors were able to learn about things that pertain to their futures, whether it was hearing from a professional in a particular field or learning to cook chicken and mac and cheese. This week is finals week across the high school, and students have been preparing for these tests over the course of the year, and after taking this one last stretch of studying before summer vacation. And of course, high school graduation is next Tuesday at 7 p.m., followed by grad ball. And as this is my last Board of Education meeting as a student representative, I also wanted to take a moment to thank you all for your kindness and support over the last 2 years. When I started doing this, I had no idea what to expect. I'm grateful to say that since then, I've gained public speaking skills and learned how to communicate professionally, as well as been able to advocate for the student body and causes that are meaningful to us. I also learned a lot about education and local government by doing this, and I plan to stay involved in my community in the future. This experience was truly valuable to me, and I'll never forget this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Hudson. It's been great having you here for 2 years. I know that we've watched you learn and grow, and it's been really great. You've brought up really important issues to us, and I think you're learning about how government and bureaucracy sometimes is frustrating, but sometimes we get things done too, despite it all. So I really do appreciate your efforts and your being here. It's been really a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for your service, Hudson. Being a student leader and being a leader overall it's a hard thing to do, and we really applaud your efforts in standing up and stepping up for your student body, and look forward to all that you're going to do in the future. Your future is bright. You're very intelligent, very well spoken, and you're really dedicated, and it's shown. So thank you so much for your service, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Of course, thank you.
And Hudson, you've watched us give lots of awards to lots of people, and now it's your turn. We have a certificate of appreciation for you. We'd love to get your picture and wish you well. So.
All right.
Okay, for the Chief School Administrator's report, I want to touch on a few things that we didn't feel was necessary to do a full report on, but in February or March, we did an update on the district goals and marked many of them as complete, but a few that were still in progress. So I just wanted to update the board on that so that you know we didn't forget about it. The few that were left as in progress back in the winter were about secondary goals, benchmark assessments, and Tier 2 math supports and enhanced ELA curriculum. So I'll talk a little bit about that. The benchmarks were marked as in progress because the year wasn't over. We're still giving benchmarks, but that has happened. We're marking that as complete now. We really have been reviewing those results with the supervisors, looking at how that affects curriculum design, how that affects instruction, all of the things that we said we would do. With the Tier 2 math, that is the math lab that was at the middle school, we found that it was especially well attended with 6th and 7th grade, a little bit more challenging to get the 8th graders to show up, but we did think that was valuable still. We did a reflection survey with the staff. They really thought it was helpful, and over the summer we're going to start really looking at the NJSLA scores and see if there are correlations between that. But I will give you a caution about the NJSLA scores. We don't know when we're going to get them. We don't know what they're going to look like, and we don't know if they're going to be anything like last year's NJSLA scores because it's a completely different test. Typically by now we know something about the GPA scores, but we know nothing about that yet either. I don't think they've even set cut scores for any of it. So when we find out anything, we will share it with you, but no idea when any of that is going to happen. With English Language Arts at the middle school, the Tier 2 instructional goal was about MEMBing, using this for vocabulary development. We found that it was especially useful for our multi-language learners, and that really kind of fed directly into a literacy PLC that we're running up here. So we're going to continue working with that and look to see how we can sharpen that up for next year as well. The only other goal that was left as in progress last time was about the district-wide building assessment. So I'll let James just say a couple words about that.
Thank you, Mr. Van Nest. We received the final report from our architect. As was reported at our last meeting, we are still culling through I think it's 287-page report and trying to synthesize it into something that we can review and make meaningful decisions from. So I think we're complete in that we have the report, and we will take this summer to put it into a format that can facilitate conversation and begin to identify projects that we are all in agreement need to be conducted.
Thanks. And then the last thing that I want to mention in my report is we have a lot of fun stuff coming up. The 5th grade moving up ceremonies on Thursday, middle school and high school graduation next week. We have clap outs. We have all of the stuff. And then summer, which is something I'm sure we're all looking forward to. But the last thing I want to update the board on is Nicole Hirsch and I have been talking about getting a Orton-Gillingham cohort set up for next fall. So Orton-Gillingham is one of the multisensory reading modalities. That and Wilson are the two major ones. And FDU offers a program where I think it's a 2-year program, where they will host the cohort at your school district if you have enough people. I think the minimum is 5, and I think last Nicole checked, we have about 9 that are interested in doing this. So we're looking at hosting that cohort here next fall. I think it's a 2-year program, and try and get as many more folks as we can. I see some elementary people out there. If you're interested in Orton-Gillingham certification, we're going to be running a cohort here is the goal. So excited about that, and I think it should be a good thing for our teachers and for our district. And that is the end of my report, and I'm just going to move right into the next bit of, I'm sorry, you had a question?
And you may not, maybe later get back, is the Orton-Gillingham program going to be something that works cohesively with the...
Sunday?
Yes.
Yeah. So the Sunday is based on a lot of the science of reading types of things, and there are various modalities of it. It's not all like it has to be one product or the other, but it's multisensory. It should work.
So it expands on it.
Yes.
Thank you. Very good.
Other questions? So we'll move right on into presentations and recognition. And again, we're presenting to somebody who's just kind of been a familiar face every board meeting here. A few faces. I only see one of them here, though. And these are our audio and visual leadership students, Connor Bratsby's, Nathan DeLibrio, and Harry Niles. Connor and Nate have been assisting the board meeting broadcast since their freshman year, and Harry has been assisting our AV program since freshman year with multiple events ranging from the musicals to coffee houses, and they're just here a lot. They're here late. We really appreciate them just being a consistent voice here, and just want to recognize the three of them as they move on. Connor, you told me you're going to South Carolina. So congratulations, and really looking forward to all the great things you're going to do. He's majoring in broadcast media journalism, which is awfully fitting. So thank you so much, and let's recognize those folks. Now I'd like to invite up Ms. Rebecca Statlin, who is the coach of the boys tennis team, to say a few words and present some certificates. There she is.
You just press the button.
Rebecca, press the button so the light turns green. There we go.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the Board of Education, administration, family, and community members. It is my honor to stand here tonight and recognize an extraordinary season by our boys tennis team. This year's team finished with an outstanding 19-3 overall record and a perfect 12-0 league record. Those numbers reflect success, but they only tell a part of the story. What made this team special was not simply the wins, it was the character behind them. Every day, the group showed up committed, disciplined, resilient, and with an unwavering belief to one another. They practiced with a purpose, competed with heart, and represented our school with pride. One of the defining moments of our season came in the sectional finals when we defeated a longtime rival, Pascack Hills, in a hard-fought match that demonstrated exactly who this team had become. The victory earned us an opportunity to compete in the state championship match. In the state championship match, our players rose to the occasion and defeated West Deptford by a score of 4-1 to bring home the state championship trophy. This accomplishment means more because it is something that has not been achieved for the boys since 2021. These student athletes embraced the challenge of carrying that tradition forward and created a season that will be remembered for years to come. This championship was built on more than talent. It was built on trust, on teammates supporting one another, on players pushing each other to improve, on athletes stepping into roles both big and small, and understanding every contribution mattered. This year marks truly something special for our school community, having both a girls' state championship tennis team and a boys' state championship tennis team in the same year. This is a reflection of the culture, dedication, and excellence that our student athletes and coaches continue to build. To our players and my assistant coach, Jeremy Pierce, I thank you for your hard work, your ethic, your sportsmanship, and for believing in each and every other person each step of the way. And I want to personally congratulate to my amazing team, my boys tennis team for the 2026 season, and on an incredible state championship. And I will now present you with these certificates. So may I please have Jacob Grinberg, don't need to know it's tennis. Hudson Pack. Aiden Chuo. Ido Alkin, who is not here tonight. Isaac Schwartz. Leo Yoshimoto. Lucas Lee. John Killar. Wait, Lucas. Noah Lee. Nate DeLibrio. Dylan Lee. And Noah Lee.
All right, congratulations again to our student athletes. I know that the student athletes and family members may want to leave. If you want to leave, this is like a good transition for you. If you want to stay, by all means, absolutely stay. I'll give you some time. All right, so it is time for our first public comments. It's 7:31, so I'll invite all members of the public that are here today to state your name, state your address, and then you'll have 3 minutes. And at that point, you'll have the ability to, you'll hear like an alarm go off, and that's just to ask you to wrap up your comments. Thank you.
Okay. Colleen Manley, 70 Ridge Road. I am here tonight speaking on Agenda Item P43, coaching stipends. Since 2022, I have been speaking to the BOE on the issue of pay inequity across sports coaching positions within GRHS. This will be my last time speaking on this issue, as I will be moving in the near future. The reason I think it's important for me to speak up each and every time the coaching stipends are approved is because significant inequities exist in the stipends across sports. I want to acknowledge that the BOE did address an inequity in the staffing of winter track in 2024 by adding a girls' head coach position and increasing staffing. I thank you for that. But the overall inequities in the sports tiers still exist and can only be addressed in a BOE GREA sidebar agreement. Here are just a sampling of questions and observations about the inequities in the tiers. Of the 4 sports in the top 2 compensation tiers, 3 have been male-only sports until fairly recently. When a sport has equivalent boys and girls teams, basketball, baseball, lacrosse, soccer, coaching stipends are equal. But why is a team sport like volleyball, historically girls only at GRHS, compensated differently than lacrosse, soccer, softball, or basketball? Why is winter track compensated differently than spring track? These are just a couple examples. What determines which sports are on which tiers? History. The first time the team hierarchy for coaching stipends was included in a GREA contract was the 1991-92 contract, at least 25 years ago. The only changes since then are adding sports to different tiers and increasing stipends on a percentage basis according to negotiated contracts. The forum for addressing this inequity is a sidebar agreement with the GREA. In fact, there have been two recently. There was a GRE sidebar agreement on coaching stipends in each of the last two contracts, about 15 months into the contract term, in November 2019 and December 2022. All that is needed to have a sidebar is a willingness on both sides to participate in one on agreed upon topics. I will forward you all of the resources that I have, all of the history, all of the letters that I have sent. I really hope that members will take an interest in this issue and work collaboratively with the GREA to address it. I just want to add one final thing. I left the spring sports track wards to come here. At that meeting, I was told by a coach that she was notified today that the track hurdles, hash lines, and numbers, which were installed incorrectly last summer when the track was redone, are not going to be fixed. And the decision was made, I was told, because the team was able to deal with it this year. So why fix it? Well, the reason the team was able to deal with it is because the coach goes out and manually fixes all of the hurdles, because the lines can't be trusted, the kids can't be trusted to put the things out. But the decision has been made not to fix it. I understand the BOE does not have jurisdiction over this, but I want to point it out. There's a pattern of behavior, and I hope you will look into this. It is a safety issue. It is a liability issue. You can't have those hurdles incorrectly spaced. And by the way, they're not just put out once and back. They're put out several times at different places every meet.
Ms. Manley.
Yep. Finally, my thanks and sincere respect to all of you for your service to this community and the work you do to make the schools better every day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sinead Rendell, 58 Henry Street. Dear members of the Glen Rock Board of Education, I understand that the board is voting to place armed security guards in Glen Rock schools. As a parent, taxpayer, and former board member, I'm requesting the information that was used in this proposal before you take any vote tonight. Specifically, please provide any peer-reviewed research, studies, academic articles, or formal reports relied on by the board, administration, consultants, or security professionals in determining that armed security personnel would improve student safety. Any school security assessments, threats, assessments, or risk analysis conducted for Glen Rock schools that support this recommendation. Any legal opinions, insurance guidance, risk management analysis addressing the potential liability associated with introducing firearms into the school environment. I'd like to know the anticipated financial impact of this proposal, including the new salaries that would be needed for them, the benefits included, training costs, equipment costs, insurance costs, legal costs, and any ongoing operational expenses. Whether these expenditures were included in the 26-27 budget presented to the public and approved by you. If not, how are you paying for it? My request is straightforward. If the board's making this decision of this kind of magnitude, the community should understand what evidence you used to base it, what considerations were made, and what financial implications for this implementation. I have reviewed research and a commentary on school-based armed security. I haven't found one clear consensus demonstrating that the presence of armed security guards results in safer outcomes. In fact, the evidence points exactly opposite. So given the seriousness of this issue, I would like to understand your evidence. Additionally, if the board proceeds without peer-reviewed evidence demonstrating a safety benefit, I would appreciate an explanation of how you will evaluate potential liability should a student, a staff member, or community member be injured as a result of this policy. I believe parents and taxpayers deserve transparency regarding both the anticipated benefits and the risks associated with this. I think that the public record should clearly reflect the evidence, financial analysis, and decision-making process that inform this board's action. Thank you, and I look forward to reviewing all of the material.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. Stephanie Carasella, 10 Romery Court. Good evening. As a former trustee, I understand the weight of decisions involving student safety, which compels me to speak tonight. I'm asking the board to vote no on G3 to arming school security guards. When I think about school safety, I start with a simple question: does this decision reduce the risk of harm to our children? In my view, bringing additional firearms into our schools does not. A gun is designated to be lethal. No matter how much training someone receives, the presence of a firearm creates the possibility of accidental discharge, misuse, mistaken identity. I sent you all an email earlier with a fake gun that an 8th grader has that looks so real. So mistaking identity during a crisis, or a weapon falling into the wrong hands. We saw that recently in Paramus. Even if those risks are small, the consequences are unthinkable when children are involved. I also struggle with the fact that the evidence is far from clear that placing more armed personnel in schools prevents tragedies or reduces casualties. If we are going to introduce a new risk into our schools, we should be able to demonstrate a clear and measurable safety benefit. Most importantly, I believe our greatest opportunity to protect students lies in prevention, mental health resources, counseling, threat assessment, strong relationships between students and trusted adults, and a positive school climate help identify problems before they become crisis. As a parent and community member, I find it deeply troubling that we are considering a proposal or vote that increases the number of guns in our schools. The possibility that even one child could be unintentionally harmed by a firearm brought into the school for protection is a risk I cannot support. I respectfully urge the board to reject the proposal, the vote, and continue pursuing safety measures that protect our students without introducing additional guns or any guns into our schools. If you do vote yes, please explain the due diligence you did. Make me feel comforted in everything that you've done to get to this decision. Please share that information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dave Smith. I live here in Glen Rock. I'm here to talk about the same issue about school safety and security guards. I was here at the first meeting to talk about it with all of you folks, and I'm not going to rehash what I said at the first meeting. I went through the details, and the thing that's not in dispute, and the reason why you all can feel good if you're going to vote yes on the proposal, which I suggest that you do, and that's because there's a big fact that has not been refuted by people who opposed the initiative. And the fact is that by the time the police get there, it's already too late. I mean, in every shooting that I went through last time, we know that as a fact. By the time the police arrive, if there's nobody on scene, it's too late, the shooting is over, and the damage has been done. So you really only have one option. The one option is to protect the kids who are at the schools. The only way to do that, as I pointed out last time, with the Santa Fe shooting was the one identified last time, which was in 4 minutes, there were 10 people that were killed, 13 were wounded, but they kept the shooter pinned down. And in that time they kept the shooter pinned down, they saved probably about 20 lives because there were 2 armed, vetted security guards there. So I'm not going to rehash it, but I will point out another fact, which is sometimes people on the opposite end of this say that it's dangerous to have the guards armed in schools. Well, of the 56, I mean, it's roughly 50 to 56 million students that are in school in America. There are no instances that I could find of a shot that was fired by a security guard by accident or on purpose where a child was injured in 2025, 2024, 2023. I couldn't find a single instance. So out of all those kids in America, actually the only time there was an accidental one recently, it was May of 2025 in Paramus. Happened to be the only one that I could find in all of America where there was an accidental shot that went off and no one was hurt there. So it's, 56 million kids, no one hurt for those past 3 years alone that I looked into. So you can feel safe and secure in your decision of yes. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, viewing member and all the audience here. Rena Way, living 19 Bradford Street. I went through all the agenda. As to the armed securities, my daughter's elementary school is not far away from the middle school and high school when the incident happened. I was so shocked and frightened when I was in office. I tried to go back home, but I was in office in a meeting. I can feel the frighten But it seems my daughter was okay because the elementary school nearby wasn't locked down. I was surprised it wasn't locked down. Something wrong with the policy? Because for them, it's walking distance to middle school and high school. And for me, I know there will be a lot of budget to the armed security. What about, besides the physical health, what about the mental health? This is what my daughter wrote to me. Mommy, I don't feel like going to school. I feel really frightened. In last 30 days, because she started to wear frames, she was called big buffaloes, dumps, a lot of verbal abuse towards her. My husband took her to the pickup. Someone from her class called her, "You are colorblinded," because she was wearing a frame. What about the mental health? I know that there are a lot of tennis players being honored, winning the championship. I can remember the last name, Yoshimoto, because I learned Japanese. Yoshi means good. Moto means root. Glen Rock has very good roots of welcoming immigrants. I hope my daughter, she's now playing tennis, she can represent Glen Rock for future tennis games. But I doubt it now. A lot of verbal use in school, even in elementary. Some kids from the higher grades try to grab her face during picking up waiting time. And that's the security. What do you do with it? Can we have a little bit budget in increasing it? In increasing the security, mental health. You can see all the counselors' face in different elementary schools. They tried their best, but they're short of hands. I hope, besides giving budget to the armed security, dear BOE members, give more budget into building a better mental education, mental therapy team. Same thing incident happened to my daughter. Encounter this in the World Cup. Someone was showing this face to her. She was Asian. 2 times. This January. She's strong enough to speak out. Now it's our turn to show our effort in making Glen Rock a more diversified, more inclusive education school district, giving more support, giving more budget. Thank you.
Lisa Tomaselli, President of GREA, Hamilton School. In September, I will have been here 30 years. As president of the GREA, I represent 283 teachers and staff members. And after the discussion at the last board meeting regarding the middle school, high school delayed start, we are concerned here. I did some homework, and I called the Ridgewood president and asked him about their process in order to get the delayed start at Ridgewood High School to work. And the first thing he said to me was that it took Ridgewood 10 years to get the delayed start for the high school in motion. Now, I personally read a few studies about the later start for teens, as well as some studies about the length of a school day for elementary students, too. And after the reading that I did, and I know how to do research, there is a lot more to discuss, research, and plan to do what is best for our students. Let's not forget that Glen Rock took 5 years to put together the middle school, high school drop schedule in motion. Over my extensive time here in Glen Rock, I have an understanding of how things work around here. This community is involved, And if the board wants to be successful with implementing anything, you need input and buy-in from your neighbors and your teachers. After all, the teachers and the parents will be the ones implementing any of these changes. Last Tuesday, I met with Dr. Robinson and Ms. Calvez. We had a lovely meeting. I felt it was very productive. And we realized that our goals with the GREA and them are the same. But right now, I feel that the board needs to focus on two very important things: finding a superintendent to lead our school district and building morale. The GREA members are made up of smart, talented, and dedicated teachers that work with your students, your children, every day. And we are here, ready, and glad to help the Board of Education in any way that you need. In my 34 years teaching experience, it is districts work best, schools work best when the four parties meet together: the parents and their children, teachers, the administration, and the Board of Ed. When the four of us meet on the same corner for the same goal, the collaboration creates buy-in and therefore success for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that would like to make a statement? All right. So we'll close our first public comment period at 7:50. Oh. Did you have? All right, so I need a motion to approve resolutions G1 through G31. Mr. Corey, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, so I have to read the motion to approve, get the second, and then open the discussion. So I need a second for the motion for G1 through G31. Ms. Stevenson. All right, so now this opens discussion on the G items. And so who wants to begin? No? Okay, go ahead.
I'm feeling brave. Good evening. My name's Ed Hayward. I'm speaking tonight in my personal opinion here, and I guess I don't represent the board, but I hope this rings true for everyone on the board. I've spent over 25 years in education, and in my current role as a director of technology, I've been involved in many, many safety discussions alongside law enforcement across the country. I also want to acknowledge that there are thoughtful perspectives on both sides of the issue, and I respect that. I want to be clear. I support the use of trained, armed security personnel in our schools, particularly at the secondary level. You may hear that the evidence doesn't support having armed personnel in schools. I would frame that more precisely as the research is mixed and in many cases inconclusive. But school safety decisions are not made the same way we evaluate academic programs or pilot initiatives. They are based on risk mitigation and worst-case preparedness. In that context, the key question becomes, if something does happen, do we have the ability to respond immediately? And the answer to that question changes significantly when trained armed personnel are already on site. It's also true that not every incident is deterred, but deterrence is only one part of the equation. The more critical factor is time to intervention. Even in a town like Glen Rock, where we have an excellent police department, response is measured in minutes. Unfortunately, critical incidents are measured in seconds. Concerns have been raised about accidental discharge, misuse, or escalation. Those are valid concerns, and they highlight the importance of choosing the right model. There is a significant difference between a general security guard and a trained law enforcement professional or a retired officer, such as a Class 3 officers. These individuals are firearm qualified, operate under strict protocols, and have real-world experience in de-escalation and crisis response. The goal is not to introduce risk, it is to manage risk professionally. I also understand the concern that this could negatively impact school climate. In practice, that has not been the experience in many districts across Bergen County that have implemented SROs or Class 3 models. When done correctly, these individuals become known to the students, build relationships, and serve as visible but reassuring presence. This is not about creating fear, it's about creating preparedness. Another point you may have heard is that Glen Rock is a safe community with fast police response times. I agree that we are fortunate to live in this safe community, but school safety planning cannot be based solely on community averages or past history. It has to account for low probability, high impact events. Those are exactly the scenarios where preparedness matters most. I want to emphasize something important. This is not an either-or conversation. I fully support the recommendations around mental health support, strong relationships, secure entry procedures, and staff training. Armed security, when done properly, is simply one additional layer in a comprehensive safety strategy. We are entrusted with the safety of students and staff. The question is not what is comfortable, it is what is responsible. At the end of the day, this comes down to the simple question: are we doing everything reasonably possible to ensure the safety of our students and staff in worst-case scenarios? We all hope those scenarios never happen, but hope is not a strategy, preparedness is. Thank you.
Is that, go ahead.
Thank you for your words. I agree with you. Your words are very true and ring true. Everyone has different perspectives on this. This is very hard to be in a situation where you have almost half on one side of an opinion and half on the other. And in my vote tonight will be coming down to the fact that I never want to be on the wrong side of this equation if there is an emergency in our school. And that's really where my vote stands and how it comes down.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So I think this is one issue where I don't know that I've ever seen so many of our residents engaged, whether they spoke out in favor or against. And I want to thank everyone who came to meetings, who emailed. And it really was a very respectful conversation, whether you, whichever side you were on. And I feel part of my responsibility as a board member is my personal feelings have to go to the side because I have to look at the data that's before me. And I think the district did an excellent job because we heard from the parents and the families. The staff was surveyed. The Board of Ed has spoken about it. We spoke to the police about it. So it was a comprehensive decision. Sadly, I mean, it's kind of the state that we live in, is that we have this as an option. And at the end of the day, we have to know that we did everything we can to keep not our students safe, our staff safe, the parents who come into the building. Safety is the bottom line. And, you know, we do a good job with mental health resources, I believe. And then, as you said, Ed, this is just one more piece of a bigger picture of what we can do in order to make sure that everybody is safe. And I had some concerns. My concerns were all addressed. My biggest one was training for our security guards, and they all are retired police officers. They already work in the buildings. They already have relationships with our students and our families. So that makes me feel a lot better, and they will continue to have training, especially in working with our student population. So I just want to thank everybody who participated in this, whether it was from the district administration, from our families, and from our staff.
Thank you. Go ahead.
We were asked the same question in the debate when we were running to the board 2 years ago, and so I'll echo what I said then. I grew up in a more dangerous country than this one, and we didn't have armed security in our schools, and so it is unfortunate that the reality that in this country we need to think about that. It is a problem. It's a problem that needs to be addressed by politicians in the state level, in the federal level, and there's definitely needs to be money fielded to mental health and actually making sure that people who should not get guns won't get guns. But unfortunately, in our small community and with the decision that we need to make, we cannot change the whole country. We need to make a decision that is right for our kids. And yeah, I'll echo what everybody said. We had a lot of discussions, and it wasn't an easy decision, and we were not taking it lightly, but we're presented with all the information and all the security measures, plus a guarantee, then a promise that the mental health and addressing the kids' needs will be addressed to make sure that nobody's felt that, you know, not in per place or anything else. So with that, I'll support the decision.
Thank you. All right. Go ahead.
I said it last time. I probably want to say it's the same thing again. I do not support because there is no evidence that shown having armed security guard makes school safer. Right? The gentleman earlier, he left, but he used the example of Santa Fe shooting, where this is exactly the example that showed that armed security does not help. There were 2 armed security guards in school while the shooting happened. One of them, I have up here, named John Barnes, spent more than 20 years with Houston Police Department before retiring and joining the school armed security. Right? I think Ed said it very nicely. Hope is not a strategy. Hope armed school security is going to make school safer. It's not a strategy. There is no evidence to support this is true. So I don't support this.
Thank you. Do you have anything? Go. All right.
Yeah, I wanted to just comment on our process, as I usually like to. I found the board came together and discussed a topic that it's not native to our daily meetings, our weekly meetings. It's not a topic that we understood, and I saw everybody jump into this pool of information in a method with transparency on our thoughts and our feelings and our establishment of what is and is not a fact. I'm pleased by seeing that process. I think we came together as a board on these processes. I'm thoroughly confident in the security staff that we have. I've been confident in them, and I'm very glad to see that we're supporting a measure that we are doing here by voting yes in coordination with the town, which is very well coordinated with the county and other resources that we saw on display. This was precipitated by a single event, but I think it brought people's attention to the amount of information that is not discussed in public because it's really not seen in a practical example. This board got an opportunity to kind of look through the keyhole at that ocean of data, and we're coming to a conclusion individually that we're making a difficult decision based on substantiated facts. I've been in support of this, but only in a method that we just did. So I'm really pleased to see this. As Mr. Cohen mentioned, I remember this question twice from campaign meetings, and my answer then was the same thing. In fact, I just came from a range of Fort Dix. We expended 14,000 rounds. The entire time, like I promised, was in my hand was a radio. This is all about communication. If we don't have the ability to communicate what we do, like we did throughout this entire process, we don't get anywhere. I saw that in spades. So I want to thank the board and look forward to approving this.
All right. Thank you. All right. So everyone has had an opportunity to speak. I've spoken a few times on this process during the multiple meetings that we've had recently, and even over the course of several years. I think the one thing I might slightly disagree with is it's not just that this one incident that just recently happened precipitated our discussion here. I think for years now we've looked at different measures of beefing up security, and we agreed to hire a outside, like a third-party agency to come in and take a look through our schools, through our infrastructure, through our communication between us and our local police department or the county, and we engage in frequent exercises between the agencies, and the coordination has worked out. It's even improved with time. We have a memorandum of understanding that, like we reviewed the information that came from the security company and made adjustments. We've hired increased personnel, even when, we started this program some years ago, part of it was preparing just in case the moment came where we needed to consider arming our security. And this is not a decision that, is taken lightly, when I vote. It's something that has weighed very heavily for me, for my family, for the community, and I'm asked to look at all of the information, whether it's, for the proponent side or the opponent side, and then make the best decision. But a lot of things aren't just simply black and white and linear and, you're looking for evidence that's going to just show you that this is the thing that you're going to have to make your decision on. And it's very complex because in the end, even if you're able to pin down a perpetrator and they're able to save one single life, how does that actually communicate well in data? How does the negative, how do you communicate that and make it a statistic? And if that one child could be, any of our children or any of our staff or any of our community members, it's really hard to translate that into just the thing that's going to make it easier for me to, make this decision. So that is how, I'm going to make my decision for the vote, and it is a hard one. I've spoken with teachers in districts where it's already, in place. I've spoken with people on both sides of the issue. I've also read all of your emails, read the studies that were presented, looked at additional information, and then also considered some of the intangibles, the things that are harder for you to be able to communicate. We looked at the cost. We got, cost data, like some of it is on our agenda. Like people have asked how much additional, the salary, like we're looking at a difference of $3 an hour, or how much additional for insurance. We have all of that information. It is budgeted. It is budgeted. And we've had these conversations internally. We've spoken about the different kinds of security, the increased training that we're going to make sure that we maintain, the enhanced coordination with our local police department. We've spoken about, these things in spades, and it's hard to make this decision for any of us, whether you're for it or you're against it. It's something that spans political lines, so it's not something that is just, that simple. But I really do feel like this board has, communicated those things to each other, and that regardless of how we all feel individually or personally with our own homes, that we tried to make this an objective decision for the school district. So, are there any other comments on RG items? All right, can you please call roll?
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Corey,
Yes.
Mr. Hayward,
Yes.
Ms. Parlamas,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Tang,
No for G3, yes for rest of them.
Dr. Robinson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, I need a motion to approve resolutions B1 through B17. Ms. Parlamas, seconded by Mr. Tang. Discussion for our B items, please. Yes.
I just wanted to congratulate the recipients on B4 for the scholarship winners, but more importantly, also to thank the people who are funding these scholarships. It's very generous.
Absolutely. We'll just give everyone a moment. We can, yes.
I also wanted to just comment on B4. This is fantastic. It's these types of contributions from the community that really make Glen Rock a special place and continue to give kids the opportunities. I will be recusing myself because I sit on one of the foundations that authorizes these. Little call out for the Camp Paul Foundation. Do good things when no one's looking. So glad to see this happening.
Excellent. Thank you. I echo your sentiments. If no additional comments on the B items, then we can call a roll, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Corey?
Yes, accept as noted.
Mr. Hayward?
Yes.
Ms. Parlamas?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Tang?
Yes.
Dr. Robinson?
Yes.
Motion's pass.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve resolutions P1 through P49? Mr. Hayward, seconded by Mr. Corey. Discussion items for P1 through 49?
Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to thank Michelle Della Fortuna for her 6 years of service. She's done tremendous work with our math teachers and with all teachers K-12 in the 6 years she's been here, and I will miss her a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. I know she's worked really, really hard in terms of making some transitions with our math department, and I am thankful for her dedication and wish her success in her next venture. All right. Are you able to call roll, please?
Mr. Corey?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
And we have to keep you guys on your feet. Mr. Hayward?
Yes.
Ms. Parlamas?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Tang?
Yes.
Dr. Robinson?
Yes.
Motion's pass.
Thank you. All right, so we have our HIB resolution, motion to affirm the decision made in GRMS HIB 310402 as reported by the acting chief school administrator during the June 1st, 2026 closed work session meeting. Can I have a motion to affirm? All right, Mr. Hayward, seconded by Mr. Tang. And if you're able to call roll, please, in a moment.
Mr. Cohen?
Will recuse myself.
Mr. Corey?
Yes.
Mr. Hayward?
Yes.
Ms. Parlamas?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Tang?
Yes.
Dr. Robinson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And we have our vandalism, suspension, and HIB reports below. And then we will move on to old business. So the first thing on old business is the Board of Education committees. And just to make sure I'm saying this right, James, for the September, well, let's say starting in September, what we're looking at is one of the meetings in the month, we're going to be doing committees. The second meeting in the month, we're going to be doing like our general like board sessions, our voting meetings. And I just want to remember, we said that the first meeting of the month is going to be the first, which one works better for?
The first meeting of every month will be, the first Monday of the month will be set aside for committee meetings, set in hour increments, I think beginning at, whether it be 5 or 6 o'clock, with reservations made through the president, and then a schedule will come out for that first Monday. And then the third Monday will be a action meeting of the board.
Yeah. All right. So how does that sound for everyone? I asked for James's input to make sure that, like the rhythm of our meetings, meets the district's needs in terms of making sure that we're improving things in the time that is necessary to be able to do business. Does this kind of meeting schedule work for everybody? Is there any question or concern? Or it's basically taking our 2 meetings and just making one of them a committee meeting and one of them a voting meeting.
So just
6 o'clock, right? But
Yeah, so it can't be earlier.
Yeah, but what happens if somebody's in two committees and it's two commit? So we have to.
It'll be like
organize-
6
They
to
will not
7, 7 to
overlap.
8,
That's
8
why
to
we're going to do a
9.
reservation system where
Okay.
they'll be all stacked so that if somebody is in 1 and 2, they can attend 1 and 2 or 1 and
Yeah.
4 or whatever.
I think we'll try and see how it works and we improve as we go. Right? So-
Yeah, yep, I think that's it. Because like, what I'm going to work on next is, over the summer, like determining the committee assignments and things like that. So based on the information, again, I'll just summarize it in an email, send it out. Everyone can tell me kind of like where their interests lie, and then I will try my best to match it up so that if not your first assignment, then your second, and then, let you know, from there. And I look forward to this process with all of you. And please, as we're going through this, like, submit feedback, and then it allows us to, make changes going forward. All right. Next order of business is school start time. So the first thing I can tell you, I know Ms. Tomaselli already alluded to it. We did have a meeting last week where Ms. Tomaselli told me about, the GREA's position and some of their concerns. And there was never a moment during the conversation where it felt like it was saying that the teachers aren't supportive of making a change. That was not the kind of feedback that I got. It was more that, in accordance with what, she said here in the meeting with regards to Ridgewood, she is, not she only, but just the GREA is looking for a process that they feel is inclusive in terms of considering some of their concerns. They want to look for, stakeholder buy-in, and they want to make sure that, the contract, which we negotiated in good faith, and again, like, our priority at that time was the guide, and it was something that was mutually agreed upon. And I'm only looking because I know some of this was like a back and forth between me and you, but this also goes for, the whole board. What they're looking for is just a process where we are having these discussions. And I would say that when we started this kind of conversation after we had our annual meeting, and where is it again? Like the school board meeting. So our annual school boards in October. When we had many of us had gone to the presentation about late starts, and were enamored with some of the research that was shared, some of the process that was shared. There are school districts that are able to make this happen. All of that. So I'm not really hearing sentiment from board members that are saying, like, we don't want this to happen. But there has to be kind of an opening for it. And part of that thought process was that one of the best places where that opening could occur is at negotiations and making that kind of like an ask. Whether that's the exact thing that needs to happen or not, that's to be determined. But it did feel like this was one of the first conversations that we've had where we've basically had this information and said, okay, we made an ask of administration to go find out some information about this, come bring us back, like some information, and then we can decide what is it that we want to do next with this data. Are we challenging the data? Are we looking for something else? Like you were saying, 1 minute or 10 minutes or 15 minutes difference. Like, are we going to go back to the police department and say that we want a different, like to consider a different option and things like that? That's kind of like those next steps, or surveys, or getting a sense of where the parents stand or where the kids stand, or, like a formal survey of the GREA membership, and then looking at that data to see, is it, how does the high school feel? How does the middle school or the elementary school feel? I feel like those are all parts of the things that would naturally occur next, and that without buy-in or without like an opening, it's almost destined to fail, and I want it to succeed. I really desperately want it to succeed. I want all of this, I don't want to have adversity with our teachers union. I don't want to have adversity with parents, but some adversity is going to happen. There's no decision that any of us can make without, with 100% buy-in, even within our own households. So we just have to try. We just have to try. So that's my, statement, because I needed to let you know how the meeting went. It went really well. I look forward to our continued partnership with the GREA. We have wonderful teachers, and we show them support, and I know that we all support our teachers here. That's not really up for question. But that's just my opening. So please, anybody, ask questions that you have of me, ask questions that you have of each other. Go for it.
I have a request. Is it possible, since this is Hudson's last meeting, if he's allowed to speak on later school start times, or is that not allowed? To give his opinion on it as a student representing the school?
I mean, sure, Hudson, you're here.
I haven't given it that much thought, but I definitely think that later start times would improve student morale and potentially improve student performance. I know that as a senior, when my teacher is absent, I'm allowed to not come to school if it's first period until the next class. And so I find that the rest of the day, getting that extra 45 minutes or whatever it is of sleep, it actually does improve the quality of my day, improves my attention, improves my focus. So I would say from that standpoint, it's definitely a possibility that could be seen school-wide, but I haven't seen all the data. I haven't really studied it, so I don't really know all the implications that would go into it.
Thank you so much. Okay.
So, thank you. Okay, everyone knows I have a lot to say about this topic, and I'm very passionate about it. And I spoke at length last time about the benefits for it, so I will try not to repeat myself too much in that department. But I did spend a lot of the time between last meeting and this meeting collecting some data and looking into it a bit more. And just for clarity's sake, one of the things I just want to touch upon, Ms. Tomaselli did talk about the Ridgewood's experience taking 10 years. My understanding from that, it was because the research was taking the 10 years. When they actually did make the change, the change happened in the same school year cycle, under the same budget cycle, and it happened quickly. It was the research that took 10 years. And I do respect and know we need to respect their contract, the teacher's contract. It's very important. I did read the whole thing, and my understanding and from my conversations is I don't think what we're talking about violates any of the contract. Basically, it keeps instructional time under the contracted 38 hours and 20 minutes, and it doesn't hit on any max limit of supervising time. So just to, what we were saying before was, and what I was talking about last time, was changing the start time of classes, not of school. So school would start at the same time, but the classes would start, let's say, 15 minutes later. That 15 minutes would be used in the middle school and high school as open office hours. So the teaching time for the middle school and high school teachers would shift into office hours, which are categorized as supervisory hours. So those would be the open office hours, which for the benefit of our kids would allow them to seek extra help if needed. I did ask Mr. Van Ness if there was anything we were hitting up on the contract, and I believe you said there wasn't. So I'd be, if I'm wrong, please let me know. I wouldn't want to. I also was told, as was the liaison to the town council, I did liaise with the town council, and they roped in Chief Trover. So I sent over some questions, and he was kind enough to respond, and those covered 3 topics. One of those was the traffic, which of course is always a concern no matter what time school starts. I think at the last meeting, Mr. Van Ness reported out that high traffic happened between 7 and 8:15. That was the highest commuter traffic on the county road of Harristown Road. And even if we shift from 7:50 start to, let's say, 8:05, that's still, either way, you're having the traffic happen during that high road. I did ask if there was a county traffic study. I did not hear back yet. So I don't know if there was any data points on the traffic. The crossing guards were another issue, and from my understanding, there's 22 crossing guards in town. One would be affected. And yes, it is a challenge to hire crossing guards. That one that's affected, he works the middle school, high school first, and then he pops over to from Harristown Road to Rock Road to help with Central School, or I think it's Central School. So his hours would be shifted a bit, and that is the one position that could be affected. So those were the main things on the traffic. And then I asked also Chief Shrover if there's an ideal amount of gap in time, and yes, his answer was that, the most amount of time is the best amount of time, because it's good to spread out the traffic so that it's not congested. I gave that some thought, and I agree, and I can't counter what the police say, but there is a scenario where it could improve, because I think, and just speaking to a lot of parents, myself included, if you have a child and you do 2 drop-offs, one at elementary school and one at the middle school or high school, what's happening is you're driving your child to the elementary school, coming back home, and then hitting the roads again to get to the middle school, high school. So you're actually 2 times on the road. Whereas if they're reduced in time together, it could be the parent does 1 trip instead, and there's less traffic. It's hard to know, but that could be the scenario. And then lastly, I just want to speak to the bigger picture that we're looking, and the landscape that we're playing in here, is that this is not like something that we're just pulling out of the blue. There are studies happened, and they're nationally about sleep studies. And it's really something that, since the American Academy of Pediatrics recommended an 8:30 a.m. start time, many pilot programs and many schools and many districts have taken to action on this. In California, it is the law that high school cannot start before 8:30. In Florida, it was the law that it cannot start before 8:30, and now they made it opt out. So by default, it's 8:30 or later, and schools can opt out of that in Florida. And then there's legislation, commissions happening, and resolutions happening in multiple states. And I'm just going to list them for the benefit of everyone to understand how prevalent this is. It's New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Mexico, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Washington, and Illinois. So this is where this landscape is going, and if the state of New Jersey came down tomorrow and said you have to do this, we would find a way. But I'm hoping we can be a little bit more ahead of the curve in doing it, and that's why I'm advocating, and I just see the benefit so much for our kids in the sleep, in getting more sleep.
So I'll just answer a little bit of the question that you mentioned. I guess one question I might ask for you is, are you trying to convince us, or the board, like in your statements, that that this is something that we should support, or is it that you're saying that we should just, start it for September? Because I just want to say it because I think that overall you're going to find, based on the members that I've already spoken to and the sentiment that I hear here, is that overall we're supportive of the late start. So it's more about like the process of how we're implementing it and the thought process in terms of the feedback that's needed in order to make the change. For instance, something that also occurs all around the country at an increasing rate is a start of the school date in the end of August. And we can go through all kinds of data about how many schools start in the end of August and how that allows us to, end school earlier, and then people get a different, time. And it's a very common thing all around the country, except right here. And making that change created all kinds of, negative feedback from the community that this is something that is not welcome here, even if it's very prevalent everywhere else. So I hear you, and and this isn't just necessarily me and you, but I hear this, and
I'm not trying to educate or teach you about the later school start times. I think everyone on the board is aware of it, and I'm only stating it and restating it because we speak publicly and people watch these meetings and they may not know. So that was why I was underscoring the benefits of it.
Okay, all right.
So it's not a secret that I totally agree with the later start time, but thinking about the process and thinking about all the questions that may or may come, or, you know, some parents might not have an opinion about it, or, you know, the police has some concerns and the teachers might have concerns. And I was trying to think about a way to answer those concerns, or try to get in, you know, information. And the idea came to me that we can try it. We can try it for 1 week, do 1 week, a special week, and test the later start time. And that week, everybody will know that that's the week. And we'll try it. And the police will know about it, and the teachers will know about it, and the parents will know about it. And after that, we'll compare. We'll do some surveys. We'll be organized. We'll ask the community what they thought. Is this the worst idea ever, or is the best idea ever? Or maybe, you know, there's other things to do. And we'll get feedback from, I think we need to get feedback from the teachers, from the administration, from the parents, from the students, and from the crossing guards and from the police. And based on all the data, we can make an informed decision. But until we actually try it, everything will be an opinion. So my suggestion is that we choose a week, preferably in the first semester of next year, and try it. And that will help us inform the discussion for the full year. So we won't implement it, of course, in next year. As the head of the GRA said, like, the most important thing for us is to find a permanent superintendent. But at least we'll have data to inform him or her about, you know, what the community thinks. So, yeah, we can just try it. That's my suggestion.
Thank you. Ms. Stevenson?
Ridgewood got a lot of phone calls from Glen Rock. I too spoke to somebody from Ridgewood, and it seemed, my understanding after I spoke to the person who was, it was a year buy-in. There was a year of discussions behind the scenes, especially with the police department, and they do have busing, which is a little bit different. So all those issues were worked out behind the scenes for about a year, and then it came out. So maybe it looked like to some people that, okay, this just happened, but there was a lot of work behind the scenes. And I have to say, I agree with Ms. Thomaselli, like, buy-in is so essential, and I think I said at last meeting, I have been here where my kids were in high school when they started with the drop ad. There were meetings with parents, it was explained to us, there was buy-in to it, there was buy-in from the staff for it, because it can't be successful unless everybody's in support of it. I was here when supervisors came. There was really not much buy-in with the community for that. And I think we still sometimes get some backlash with that, because education is about building relationships, and we have to have good relationships with all our stakeholders, with the families, with the staff, with the police department, with the town council, because we are all a community. And I really, I'm not sure that this is something that can just be done. We have to work at it, and we have to have conversations about it, and we have to get everybody to feel comfortable about it, and to buy in. Like you said, I want it to be successful. I believe in a later start time is a good thing for kids. You know, it may not be for other kids, but Christine, you said the American Pediatrics at 8:30. I looked back at my notes from when I was at school boards in 2023. They were saying 8 o'clock is the ideal start time for non-busing districts. And then I also have written down in my notes, the ideal wake-up time for the high school is 7 a.m. So those are just some things that I don't know where they got I don't have it down here where they got the 8 a.m. from, but this one was with the superintendent at the time was Chatham and High Point, who were both busing districts. So those were just some things from my notes from those workshops.
So I really look forward to this process being worked out, like, through committees, because during the committee, you're going to be able to call in people. You can call in, GREA representatives, you can call in administration and police and work through that process by, sharing and having kind of like a back and forth open discussion. And instead of like this way where we say, okay, thank you, we need this information, and then we wait, and then that information goes, through its chains and then comes back, and then we then discuss back and forth for like a brief moment. I think that this process is going to work itself out much better through committees, and I look forward to your engagement. Like, this is part of one of those things that it's like, if you have an interest, absolutely, please, send me a message when you're looking at the committees, and if this is something that you want to help champion, then, I look forward to your participation in the committee on that, as well as the fact that all of us are going to have to participate in this. But, that level of detail and data sharing is essentially what I'm expecting is going to happen in the committee work, and it won't even just be borne solely by you. It would be borne by all of us doing that, level of work individually. So we're about to start committees, so we have one more, meeting left in this school year, and then we have other, work that we're doing over the summer together. But our goals setting is coming up, and I look forward to starting committees and figuring that process out. Any other, yes, Mr. Tang?
Yeah, just, first of all, because I remember I saw that research 8:30 as well, so just confirmed it. I'm reading on cdc.gov, which states, reading word by word, middle school, AAP recommend that middle and high school should aim to start time no earlier than 8:30 a.m. I think that's a fact. We shouldn't dispute the fact, right? And I also love the idea of, but we want data to prove trial week, right, or two. That's the best data we can gather, right? Look at the traffic, we can survey people, how they do, how they feel. I think that's a great idea.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
And with the facts, I mean, we can be certain that, that organization feels that way, right? So AAP feels this way. Well, another organization is going to feel that contact time with students is the most important, and the amount of time that kids spend in class is the most important. And then you have two competing things. Are the districts then question reducing their contact hours with kids? Are they reducing the amount of time that they're spending in classrooms? How does that compare to the amount of time that we're spending in our classroom? If we keep comparing to Ridgewood ends the same time now that they did before, whereas some of the models that we're looking at are reducing our amount of classroom hours. All of those kinds of things, would need to be taken into consideration and are all facts themselves. So I think there are nuances that we're taking the data of AAP and maybe other organizations and whichever times that their research is pointing to, as well as making sure that if we're looking at the hardcore data that says we should make sure that our kids, sleep longer, are they also making advice that we should reduce the amount of hours that they're in class at the same time? I don't think that they are. I think that the data shows that the amount of time that they're spending in class is important as well. Sorry, go ahead.
I think we're all kind of in agreement that this is a good idea. I have two teenagers at home as well. We all get it. And I appreciate all the research you guys are doing on this, and those of us who've worked in school forever have seen all kinds of data on this. But I feel like you're almost shortcutting the process by saying, well, I'm trying to anticipate questions and already have them answered and do all this. Why don't we just go through the process and get the questions? Everyone has valuable opinions. I think what Ms. Tomaselli said was hugely valuable. It should be a slow, steady, research-based. I understand why it takes a year to do it. We don't like that. We just want to make a decision and say, do something. But that's not how public education works. That's not how public sector works. We have to talk to the stakeholders, get buy-in, as Karen said. And if we go through those slow, steady steps, we're going to come up with an answer, whatever it is, where most of the group will all agree. Most of the stakeholders will agree. It'll become exciting. And that may be to do it or not do it. It's not our job to just grab one side or the other. It's our job to listen to everyone, bring in everyone's opinion, bring in all the data. We're all talking about data, but we've got to talk about the people. And you talk about a survey, right? That's a good idea with parents, all this kind of stuff, and take all that feedback and then really go through it. We're almost just grabbing one conclusion and saying, we got to get there to that conclusion. So I think, like I said, there's value, there's medical data behind it. We have to get buy-in. And I know that's a tough thing to say and think about, but I think you even alluded to the point, many things have failed because we did not get buy-in first. And there's no reason this has to be contentious. There's no reason this has to be a good or bad or evil idea. It's an idea. And the more we start talking about it, which is what we're doing, is good. The more we start having buy-in, I do honestly think there's value to waiting until we choose a new CSA, right? Whatever person that may be, to get them in the door and start talking about it. Lisa was also right that that's our biggest priority right now. And with all that, I think it could be a very successful process and then successful completion. So we're all arguing, or not arguing, we're all talking about details right now, whether it's a shortened day or a longer day or an earlier time or study time. That's not where we are. That's cart before the horse. You know, we have to start getting all the groups involved. We have to let each group do their own research as well. Right? We talked about crossing guards. They have opinions. You know, the faculty and staff have opinions. The parents have opinions. The students have opinions, right? Get through all that, and the best I can say is schedules are complex items that take time to build. We've had that discussion in exec earlier tonight about schedules are hard to put together. We have to consider contracts, et cetera, all this stuff, but there's no value in us just grabbing it and dictating an answer, I think. That's the way to put it. And I don't mean that we're dictating right now. We're pretty excited about the idea, and we should remain excitement and continue that excitement out through everyone and talk about it. And who knows, maybe someone will come up with a reason that we all go, oh yeah, we didn't think of that. We can't do this. I'm not implying that, but I've seen that happen before with other ideas, and I think the more careful we are, the more everyone will ultimately appreciate it, and you'll get much better buy-in. And like I said, I think a lot of people agree with the idea. It's just the how, which is really, 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 really important. So that's my 2 cents.
So I think we're all understanding the idea of process and discussions and working on that, and I'm fully aligned with doing a committee that will investigate, like talk and research and bring conclusions and work with it. But I do think that, so the first committee will happen in September. And so if you're waiting for that, the idea of a testing period will dissolve to the future or if ever happen. So I'm asking again that we will utilize the next few months in the summer to plan for a week of tests that will give the committee and the community and the teachers and everybody food for thoughts. And we test it. And if it's the worst and it's terrible execution and everybody hates it, that gives us a data point. And if it's an amazing and everybody loves it, that'll give us a data point. But without actual testing, everybody's just guesstimating.
But we don't have any structure for it. We don't know times or how long or how should we talk from 1 minute to 1 hour to this to that, right? We know crossing guard schedules, schedules. If we make it longer, which maybe the right answer is down the road, longer with different time schedules. We don't know that until we know that. So you have to have all, in my opinion, this research before we ever go to testing. And I appreciate that you want to get it done. And I appreciate you want it September. We start steaming through it, but there's 1,000 unanswered questions, and there's probably a dozen more that we haven't even talked about or thought of. So I'd be very skeptical to alter the master schedule, the crossing guard schedule, the police schedule, the parent schedule, the student schedule, the elementaries in relation to this schedule, the traffic schedule, to do a 1-week test before we've ever really fleshed out what the goal is. We know the general goal.
Yeah, but not
nothing prevented us from fleshing out. We had a year and we've talked about nothing fleshed out. So it's time to actually move a little bit forward, and that's the way to do it.
So we haven't had a year that we're talking about this. So again, the first iterations of this conversation started in 2023, but there was nothing that was brought to the table until just this, what was it, last meeting, or like, let's say this first half of this year, somewhere in the January to now timeframe is where the information was gathered and presented to us for the first official time ever. So with that information, then we have to then say, what are we doing with it next? So I would just challenge that we haven't been working with this information for a year. We've been working with it for only a couple months. I would want I like your suggestion about doing some sort of pilot. If that is something that could be feasible with the schedule and things like that over whatever time, administration would say that they need in order to set something like that up successfully. But in order for it to be fully successful, I would anticipate that you would want to use the best iteration of whatever it is that the committee then decides would be most successful, and then test that. I don't know what if you then find out, well, technically 5 minutes earlier or 5 minutes later was going to be the right time, and then we now do another test, or, I want whatever that test is to be the thing that we think is going to be most viable for our district. And I'm not sure how to accomplish that information without having those kinds of committee meetings itself. And I'm not sure how to have those committee meetings over the summer when our biggest task is our CSA search process. And that was hard enough for us to be able to figure out our schedule on. So I think that this process just has to continue in committees. So please, everyone, also just, send me your committee requests, and then I will get that information compiled within the next 2 weeks. Mm-hmm.
Perhaps in closing on the topic, but I think this is a wonderful idea. I say this all the time. We had this conversation. We are between the steps of ideas to plans. Mr. Cohen, I really was warming up to your idea of what you proposed, a 1-week trial. And when you proposed it the second time, I had Mr. Hayward's laundry list of all the things we need to adjust, and those are all the things we need to adjust. I think this is exactly the type of conversation that works well in a committee of 3 or 4. We can really expedite the thought process and battering these ideas back and forth. Because all the adjustments that we need to make for a 1-week trial, we'd need to revert back that following week. And my concern would be that we end up really more frustrating the community to say this, not just the student population, right? All those support services, like the student population is their success is our product, but the amount of the unimaginable amount of support that goes into putting that product on the shelf every morning, that's you listed it down. I'm really just making a pitch for committees, and I should stop because we're moving in that direction. This is fantastic. I think the committee is going to give an excellent product for this. I'm looking forward to that process.
Just a nuance, I think when I'm thinking committee, I'm thinking like ad hoc stakeholders, some teachers, some parents, maybe some students. This is a big tectonic change. It's not just the curriculum department. It's not just the finance committee. It's not just, this is huge, and it's potentially a huge positive thing, but without all the stakeholders being involved in a bigger type of process, I think that's the type of committee I'm thinking about, for the record.
An ad hoc committee could be utilized. I'll talk with administration and get some feedback on that idea.
I appreciate everyone's words, and yes, it doesn't have to be, it has to be bought in by everybody, and it could be a very pleasant and good process that, you do it once, you do it right, and you get it right. So I appreciate that. I like this discussion and this back and forth. The only thing I would caution everyone against is analysis paralysis, and, thinking through the health of our kids and working with urgency on it. And it doesn't have to be a tectonic move. It can be, it's shaving 2 minutes off a class period and that's it. It can be as simple as that. So, we don't, just in consideration for the opposite of the tectonic move, it doesn't, just like in Ridgewood, they said it was going to be this big doomsday thing, and it was a very simple, smooth transition.
So just to say, if it goes down that road and if we want to do it, I want to do the best thing.
Yes.
I don't want to compromise and say, let's do a minute off each class. Just, let's talk it through, meet with everyone, maybe it's 3 minutes, maybe it's end later, maybe, I don't know.
Right.
Sports is usually tough on the other end, right? But there's lots of things to talk about to get to the ideal answer for Glen Rock, which is what we want in the first place. So I'm all for it, just getting to that ideal answer
And
without compromise.
I got it, yeah.
I would say that analysis paralysis is not likely to happen with the current iteration of this board. I mean, we look at one of the decisions that we started off our regular meeting with today. I think we moved pretty decisively and, progressively through this process to be able to arrive here to vote today in confidence either for or against it. So I anticipate that this kind of change would also be no different. And some of the major things that we've had to contend with in this board for the past several years have all had pretty consistent, support from the board. So I don't anticipate that it's going to go away, nor am I trying to make it go away. So, yeah. All right. So our next meeting is August, of course, my thing just died, 31st. And we will have our second, oh, sure.
So it's a subject that I would wish not to ever speak about, but that's the reality that we're living in. So 2 weeks ago, there was a swastika event in the central school, and the administration decided, for better or worse, not to advertise that and not to send a community announcement, which I disagree with the decision, but I respected it and I understood the pros and cons. But unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but when there was an event to try to educate the kids or address the situation, we sent a PR and we announced it publicly, which caused two things. One, confusion from parents, and I know that there was confusion from parents and trying to understand what's happening. And the second thing, it's the feeling that, if something bad happened to the Jews, then we don't say that out loud, but if we're doing something nice to the Jews, then we do say it out loud, and that's the feeling that was generated, at least in my side. I do know that that's not the intent, and I know Mr. Van Ness enough to know that the reality is far from the truth. So, but that's the image, or that's what's reflected outside. And so, I think the best thing for us is to have a protocol or a policy for future, so we're not in that point again. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I appreciate your concern, and I hope that there is not confusion. We follow a pretty consistent protocol that if an event is limited in scope, we communicate with the parents of the children that are affected. If it's something much more public and visible, we communicate with entire schools, and that wasn't my decision alone. I consulted with the board president, with our director of communication, with administration, and we're fairly consistent each time with that. Last week there were folks that were asking for additional support, an assembly or something of that nature, and we didn't feel that an assembly for fifth grade at this point would be the right choice. But we do have kids up here at the high school, middle school that are involved in No Place for Hate, and they have a lot of resources there. So I thought, we should reach out and see if some of them want to come down and work with our fifth graders. So that's what happened this morning. So we sent them down with a couple faculty members to talk about bias symbols and hate symbols and such. I hear it was very positive, and so we communicated that out.
Yeah, so again, this is something that this should be like a never event, really. Unfortunately, over the several years that I've been on the board, there's a few instances of a swastika appearing. And there are all kinds of different circumstances that I know I'm aware of with regards to each of them. Each of them is a little bit, different. And there are many times where like a district-wide notification or a school-wide notification wouldn't serve this very complex issue. So I am appreciative of your comments. I always look forward to kind of learning as evidence evolves, like we talk about Holocaust education and the initiatives that we've done with, is it Kane University? The different course offerings that we offer for our children, the different ways that we're looking at promoting a positive culture. I know there was a parent that spoke about the circumstances that her child was experiencing and, bullying and or, not encouraging any instance where a hate crime or we even think that we're supporting the occurrence of a hate crime. So those things are always top of mind. So if you think that you or any of the other members of the public or family members or even children think that there's better ways for us to share education or, updated best practices or things like that, then I would like to hear what we can do as a board to continue to educate our children. So, any other? Okay. All right, so 8:54, I will open up my second of two public comment sessions. Please state your name and your address, and you will have 3 minutes, at which point you will hear the alarm go off, and that just is an ask for you to wrap up your comments. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Carlos Bedregal. I live in 27 Buckingham Place here in Glen Rock. As a parent of schools, of children in elementary school, and as a member of the Federated HSA, it has come to my attention about the safety and access to technology as of middle school. I understand they receive Chromebooks and access to computers and internet at school, but there's not like a restriction or logs or safety for the kids in terms of the access they can have to websites or social media. And it's widely studied, and there's evidence of the damage that this can cause to young children as of, maybe 10-year-olds in middle school. So my present concern is around safety for the kids in terms of access to technology and the internet, and how this is addressed by the board, middle school and high school. I know my kids are still a couple years away from that, but it shouldn't be, this is not rocket science. So a lot of other school districts have implemented safety nets for kids, and I believe our school system could do that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Schwenkler. I'm a resident at 27 Buckingham Place in Glen Rock, and I'm an educator as well as a parent. I've taught high school for many years. I'm currently employed at Ridgewood High School, and next year I'll be at Northern Highlands High School because of budget cuts in Ridgewood. I am here to present my dismay and honestly surprise when I understood from a student who I tutor who is enrolled at Glen Rock High School that teachers don't have any monitoring software for at any time during finals, during the regular school day, which is very in widespread use. It's very common. We don't just have it at Ridgewood, it's at Hawthorne and Westwood and anywhere that I've interviewed this spring in the area as I was looking for my next job. And it's not like a surprise that a school system would have it. It was a shock to me that we don't. The one we use at Ridgewood is called Go Guardian, and then next year we're going to be using something called Lightspeed Classroom Management. But I, as an educator, besides taking attendance and doing grades on one platform and Google Classroom, of course, I use this the most. I use it every day that my students are online, because if there isn't an understanding that the teacher can see what you're doing, they're buying clothes, they're playing games, they're watching sports, fantasy or real, and et cetera. And it's not a good use of anyone's time or, a publicly funded schools. I also think that the amount of cheating is not something that we need to be afraid to talk about. If there aren't systems in place that students know about, there's going to be a lot of cheating because of AI. And that's not remarking on, I don't think it should be a remark on character or that something, it's going to be happening if we don't prevent it. From the student I tutor, the words were, oh, everybody's cheating. People are constantly cheating. There was a bio final exam given this week on a computer that wasn't locked or monitored in any way, and people were cheating during the final. In my Spanish class, people split screen between the recording software and next to it a browser with Google Translate. And I'm sitting there almost faint listening to this. And I think that for our educators in town, this is an absolute necessity and the best possible use of money that I can think of, because I just honestly can't imagine teaching in 2026 without something like this. And I don't think it's fair to kids to not have something in place. And it's just very useful. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no additional members of the public at the podium, I will close our public comment session at 9 p.m. I will just need a motion to go into closed session after the meeting to discuss personnel matters related to the hiring of the permanent CSA. No action will be taken after the closed session. I just need a motion. Ms. Parlamas, seconded by Mr. Tang. All those in favor? All right. Any opposed? None. All right, we are going to recess to closed session. Thank you, everyone.